What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Hook One Pod. Hey, we're here at Hook One Bait and Tackle in the studio, as always. We said we were going to change it up.
I It's so hard to, though.
We ain't doing it.
No.
As always, I'm Pete.
And I'm Louie.
It's just kind of what we do.
Yeah,
You know
people
what I
were
mean?
coming up to us at the show, and they're like, and I'm Louie. And I was like, oh, no, you're not. But
Dude, that was an awesome segue to what we're actually going to be talking about, because it's going to be all about the show.
there's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about, a lot to go over. We saw a lot of new products. We met a lot of you guys, which was insane to me. I couldn't believe how many people came up, or just even walked past, hey, keep up the podcast. That was super cool. We had a couple people. I thought you were going to get one for us when you were down in Florida. Well, we did, and I lost all of it. So we did not.
Yeah.
So that was a kind of a pain in the butt. And honestly, please excuse me and Louie as we struggle through this episode here, because we're both feeling a little. I think the cold weather's getting to us a little bit. Sinuses are getting to us. 4 days of nonstop fishing and talking fishing and interaction. I think it's all kind of getting to us. But we wanted to get this done. We've got a lot of work to get done in the shop. It's absolutely hilarious because you guys can't see it here on the camera, but I've got right here, I've got a stack of boxes that's up to here, and it's literally just out of the camera screen.
And it's the whole back room.
Yeah, yeah. So that's where we're at. We're really looking forward to this episode, though. We sat down and we sat down the other day and we're like, hey, what are we going to talk about for the next podcast? I'd like to make it good. This is going to be kind of the start back to being consistent. We had 2 weeks off. We enjoyed 2 weeks off. But now we got guests lined up. We got more people that want to talk to you guys, and talk to a couple people at the show that want to come on. We're going to do a really cool episode with the Blue Water Sport Fish Association. A lot of the guys at salmon and lake trout fish lower Lake Huron. That's going to be a super cool video.
That's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
So I don't think a lot of you guys actually, you probably heard of them before, but I don't think you guys have, dug into it.
100%, and I'm guilty of it.
Yeah, I am too. I don't know much about it.
I've got research to do, and I know a lot of the guys up there, especially Anderson. I know Anderson's pro bait up there. They do a lot with it, right? Because Joel's a big game troller. Our friends Brian, John, all those guys that are up there, they're all a part of it, and they've been saying for a long time, hey, you need to give us some love too. And they're right. They're absolutely right, because they're a part of this resurrection of salmon and lake trout and Atlantics and stuff like that. So that's going to be a super cool episode. And then, as always, we got friends of the shop that'll be coming on. We're gonna have another one with John Latham coming up. So it's gonna be pretty awesome, man. 2024, the year of the pod.
There's a lot of people that wanna. I couldn't believe how many of you guys actually listen to us.
Dude, I love you guys, and seriously, we say it all the time, and I'm not just saying it to get more numbers or more views or whatever the situation is. I absolutely love you guys. I love the fact that you don't care at all. You're gonna come up into the booth hey, where's our podcast? Where is this stuff? I think it was so cool how many of you guys, whether you're at work or you drive to work and stuff like that, and it's we listen to you guys to kill the time. That literally, it means the world to us, and it is so cool to be able to meet you guys, because that's really what we want. If you listen to our show, if you're watching our show, please come to the booth, come to the bait shop, and let us know. Let us know that you like this stuff, and then let us know what you want to hear, who you want to hear, and all that sort of stuff, because we love that feedback.
Yeah, it's actually really good feedback too, because a lot of people are saying stuff that I forgot I said on the podcast.
100%. We're just two babbling idiots. We're two babbling idiots that literally deal with fishing what seems like 24/7 because of what our job is. So it's we've got the boat show coming up, so I'm going down to the boat show, but I'm not going to be dealing with the big boats.
Yeah,
fishing boats. You go to the fishing show, and it's 4 days straight of fish talk. When we're here, typically when our phone rings, it's fishing related. When an email goes off, it's fishing related. So we're just fortunate enough to be encapsulated in the whole thing. And what we wanted to do was spew that information out to you guys, because I think that's only going to help our industry. Our industry is in a tough spot right now.
Yeah,
The
it's not great for anybody.
No, the fishing industry is in a tough spot, from the big companies and big brands all the way down to the mom and pop shops. Um, it did so well with COVID, and it had such a boom with COVID, and I don't think it really knew how to grow. I don't think we did it the right way, and so now we're back to where we were, where you've got a lot of people that want to get in. They don't really know how to get in. Prices are way up. Um, you can't really rely on social media, and that was another thing I can't. That's what I love talking to the clubs about, whether it be the West Michigan Walleye Club or the Lake St. Clair Walleye Association. We got the one coming up with the Blue Water Sport Fish. I want to do one with the guys up in Alpena, like up for the Thunder Bay Walleye Club. Those clubs are so important because they give you access to a whole room, a whole group of people that have the same questions or have the knowledge that you have questions for. I mean, just getting to know people, you know what I mean?
It's cool to see all the like the not associations, I would call them, like groups getting kids into it now.
Yes.
Like that was, I shouldn't say it wasn't there a couple years ago, but there's a lot more people doing it now.
Yeah, I also wouldn't say I'm not saying it wasn't there, but it's definitely being emphasized now.
Yeah,
Like,
you definitely see it more on social media and
yep.
kind of growing.
And it's important, man. It's really important, because if they don't have parents that have the ability to get them out, or they don't have aunts, uncles, grandma, grandpa, whoever it is, hopefully they have friends, but otherwise they're not getting out. And what's funny, we were talking about it. It's like, how many people have you talked to that actually don't like fishing? Some people don't like touching the fish. Some people don't want to put the worm on the hook. Some people might not want to take the hook out of its mouth. But typically, if you take someone out fishing, they love it.
I mean, it's hard not to.
Yeah, it's really hard not to. But enough jibber jabber. We'll get into all that coming up. But we really want to talk about the fishing show. We saw a lot of you guys there down in Novi. We had a great weekend to have the biggest snowstorm of the year.
It was nuts.
It sucked.
Nuts.
It sucked. And with all that being said, guys, this was our best show to date, even though we've only did it last year, right?
Yeah,
it was better last year. It was better all around. The business was better. Getting to meet people and talk to people was a lot better. I mean, shoot, dude, you probably booked, and we didn't even have, because we're gonna say this, I think Louie booked like 5 or 6 trips. And someone's like, oh, only 5 or 6 trips. We don't even have anything there charter related. We don't go there to sell charters. We go there to sell baits and to talk to people and let them know, hey, if you guys are in Marine City, if you're by Lake St. Clair River, get over to Hook One Bait and Tackle. That's where you want to be. Next year, we're definitely going to set up a little area for charters. We'll probably have like a picture board up and stuff where people can book, but it's like, dude, we're just so busy.
I would say like at least 4 out of the 5 or 6 I booked were like you guys. They're like, oh, I've been listening to the podcast. I want to go catch some salmon. I didn't know there was salmon in the river.
Yeah. And that's what we're here to do. Help you out. Hopefully put you on some fish. But yeah, man, I mean, the show was really good. We've met a lot of really good people. We spent a lot of time with the folks at Superior Fishing Products. Mark and Luke, awesome dudes.
Great guys.
Awesome dudes. If you guys are looking, you guys know how we are. We're very biased to products that are made here in Michigan. Obviously, we use Mags rods. Those guys absolutely crushed it at the show, dude. Unbelievable. There were times where our booth was dead, and I'd look next door because we were in the same booth, and I'd look next door, and they were full. Like, Pat, I think, came down with 5 guys, including him, and, like, they were always busy. So shout out to the crew at Mags. Pat, you and the crew absolutely killed it, dude. Moved a bunch of rods, ice rods, open water rods, sold out of the 510s completely. But for you guys that are watching, if you are interested, those 510s are up on his website, right? Yeah, website.
Yeah, now they are.
So you can get over there, check out the 510s, but you guys know how we go. I mean, we roll with the guys that are true to us and typically Michigan made, right? Thumpums, Wyandotte lures, not Lunker City, unfortunately. Wish they were made in Michigan. Lure Lipstick. So we try and focus on, I'm trying to just think, like we've got the custom walleye spinners with Joe. The Latham Customs, Michigan made. Fat Boy Jigs, Michigan made. Is that all of them? That's all of them that I can think of right now, and I'm sure I miss people, but we really like to focus on Michigan-made products, and that's why it's so fun to go to these shows and meet these guys and talk to them.
JT's are.
JT Custom Tackle.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, absolutely Michigan-made. And the guys at JT shoot. If anyone here from JT is listening, guys, we couldn't do it without you guys. I mean, you saw that wall of all the JT Customs, Bandits, Flicker Minnows, Husky Jerks. This year we're gonna get into their whole their blades, their crawler harness blades. So those guys do an awesome job. So to be able to meet those guys from Superior Products, Mark and Luke, what a blessing. They make unbelievable rod trees, rod holders, net holders, tool holders, tracks. They make whole track systems, all that sort of stuff. So if you're looking to kind of outfit your boat, they make one that's really cool for smaller boats, and it goes right in where the base of a seat goes. And it's got 5 rod holders on one side, 5 rod holders on the other. So it'll literally fit a full trolling spread. And then it's got 4 tool holders and a bunch of little holes around it. See, what I like about their stuff is it's very practical. The tool holders.
Very.
You're looking at it and you're wondering what all these little holes are around the tool holder. And you don't realize what they are until you can hang hooks in them. And say, oh my God, these are for my spoons, or for us. Like, oh my God, these are for our jigs.
Yeah.
So that was super cool. Getting to meet those guys. Shout out to the Superior Fishing Product folks. I'm sure we're going to be giving a bunch of shout outs.
Oh yeah. There's a list of them.
But it was cool, man. It was really cool. It was cool to, we had John in our booth. John Latham was in our booth. He was selling his custom Rapalas, and it would have been nice to have him help out other places. But when Thursday, Friday were like the 2 main days he was there.
Yeah. Honestly, Thursday was the busiest.
Thursday was the busiest day by far. It seemed like a lot of people tried to beat that snowstorm and beat the rush. But like for John, dude, did he have any downtime? It seemed like constantly people were just surrounding the Latham Customs, and it was so cool to see John kind of do his thing. Like, I was happy, he got to see people he hasn't seen in some of them in over 10 years.
I know, it was nuts. People were over there for like hours at a time.
He was straight up giving mini seminars over there.
It was kind of nuts to watch from like not afar, but kind of next to him and listen in on him.
Yeah,
like, dude,
it was funny because I talked to him this morning and I was like, John, I know you didn't notice, but I took a couple laps around when you were busy, and I actually just tuned into some of the information that you were giving out. But I've said it since the very beginning. That's what makes us us. That's what makes the Hook One team. It's not just one person, but that's what makes the Hook One team the Hook One team. Like, there's so, like, you can't find those. You can't find those custom crankbaits everywhere, right? And there's a lot of people that paint them and do that sort of stuff, but to be able to go meet the guy that paints them and then ask him about his recommendations or his preferences or whatever you want to talk about, to be able to do that is what's important, because as well as I do, you can go buy tackle anywhere.
Oh yeah.
You can go buy this stuff. I'm looking around and what do I see? I see Bomber Long A's, I see Little Cleos, I see Money Badgers, I see Floating Rapalas, I see Stinger Hooks, I see Berkeley Minnows, I see Custom Walleye Spinner. You can go get that stuff anywhere, man. Like, literally anything I just named off, you can go get anywhere, but you're not. And I promise you, and this is what we hang our hat on, we've done it for 3 years now, and we've built this team this way. You will not get better information anywhere else when you go to do this.
No, you won't.
Right? It's like it's who we are. It's when we built this. How many times? Well, I didn't go. Well, you're not gonna be able to do that. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are, because you guys, and it shows, because you guys truly do love it and appreciate it. But to be able to see, Roy there, we had Roy from Fat Boy Jigs, and we had his full selection. To be able to go up to the guy that paints the jigs and talk to him and ask him, hey, why do you do this? Why do you do that? What makes your jigs better? What are your recommendations? What do you think? That's hard to get. So, like, what? Finn's causing trouble back here. But that's hard to get. Like, to be able to go and talk to these people directly. Sluggo.
Yeah, he was dishing out bandits.
He's unbelievable, man. He's like, there might be 2 guys that do the painting over there, maybe, but it's mostly Sluggo. It's Josh, and the dude's an animal. He paints more baits than anybody that I know. And to be able to show up to the JT Custom Tackle booth and be like, hey, what makes this bait different from this one? You know, because sometimes it's hard to tell the difference.
Yeah.
Especially for a colorblind idiot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's me, by the way, guys. I'm not making fun of any of you. I'm the colorblind idiot. But to be able to walk up to the booth and be like, hey, man, what gave you this idea, or why did you want to paint this? And for him to tell you straight up, you know, this is why I did it, or, hey, you know, I fish on Saginaw Bay. That's where he fishes. So, like, well, I fish on Saginaw Bay, so this is why. It was super cool, man. I felt super lucky. I felt super blessed to be a part. Like, it's funny. I feel blessed to be a part of that team, even though we kind of put the team together. Just lucky, man. Just really lucky.
It was cool to see the people be like, oh, well, this just kind of looks like any other lure. And then John or Josh go over to the UV light and blow their mind. And they're like, I'll take 5. I was like, dude,
Yeah,
I'll tell you. All day, every day. Like, they were just blowing people's mind. Even checking them out, they're like, did you know this bait did that? And I'm like, no.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that little UV box that Jeff brought in, pretty gnarly. Makes it pretty easy to sell baits when you see the what do I want to say? Like the true colors of the bait.
Yeah, see what it does underwater.
You bring that UV light out, and they always say that UV light is really similar to what fish see under the water when that bait's lit up. Unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. The jigs, the plastics, the crankbaits, like all of it. Just unbelievable. We have we actually have one of the boxes here now that we're getting ready to put up for Roy's jigs. And then we've got 2 more coming to hang crankbaits in because it's just stunning. Like, I don't even think you guys understand what the baits in your box look like. Especially like if you've got salmon spoons, if you've got any of Latham's customs, almost all the JT customs, all the JT blades, these are just ones that it's a lot of the stock bandits. Like,
yeah,
you put a black light on those or one of those UV lights, and it's unbelievable. The colors that come out, and like John's will change color. Like, you'll look at John's and it'll look like an orange based paint or a gold, something like that, and then you hit it with a light and it turns green. It's like, what?
It's nuts. It's like the I don't know. It's not the clear coat. It's like the paint he puts over everything else. Like, it'll look like gold, and then boom, hits a white, and it's antifreeze.
Yeah. So that was super cool to see. And then my favorite part is always my favorite part, but it's just talking with you guys and talking with all the customers that come through the booth. I mean, it was just constant. We're losing our voices because of it. But it's just so cool to be able to talk to everybody. And, you know, the show's in Novi. It's not, they call it the Ultimate Fishing Show Detroit, but it's in Novi. But it's easy to get to for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's not too far for anybody.
No, it's an hour to an hour 15 for a lot of people. Like, a lot of people, or shorter. So you get to talk to all these different people, and I can tell that's how I knew the snow really affected this year's turnout. Because, like, last year you had people that fished the west side. We didn't get any of those west side people because they had 20-something inches of snow. You get a lot more St. Clair guys. We didn't get a ton of those guys making the drive. A lot of guys fished Erie. We had a lot of people come through the booth. Where do you fish? Lake Erie. Where do you fish? Lake Erie. Where do you fish? Lake Erie. It's like, oh my God. And that matters.
It does. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, people come in and they're like, you know, what kind of crankbaits? They'll come into the show where we have, I don't know, 100 custom colors up, something like that. So they'll come into the show and they're like, hey, where, you know, what are the best colors? What are the colors I want to use, or whatever the situation is? And the first question that we're trained to ask, that we were taught to ask, you know, by the guys that paint the product, where do you fish at mostly? Because that means a lot in the sense of what colors are you going to go with. So, like, if you're a St. Clair guy, you know, for me, I'm going to focus a lot more on those natural colors, a lot of transparent colors, a lot of those see-through colors because it's clean water, a lot of perch.
ton of perch.
Yeah, a lot of freaking perch. We got a lot of perch colors up on the wall, and those St. Clair guys need every one of them. But then you go down to Lake Erie, and it's a lot of the purples, the greens,
the oranges.
yeah,
Like
and then
a lot of the brighter, darker, like nothing like. I shouldn't say you're not matching the hatch down there, but a lot of those guys kind of,
watercolor,
it is watercolor. Like
right?
the new Lil Bully sold insanely good.
Yeah,
the,
that new
the
little
white
bully.
and orange guys were eating that up.
Yeah, it's bright orange on the head, bright orange on the tail, all white down the middle of it, and then it's got orange spots, like bright orange spots. That's another bait. You put that under the UV light,
Nuts.
it's
It
like, oh my
lights it.
god. And as we get the UV lights in, just keep an eye on Facebook because I'm sure the jig box will be. I will be posting that stuff because it is super sick. But if you don't know what we're talking about, then you'll be seeing it shortly on our socials. But yeah, dude, and then you go up to Saginaw Bay and it's a little bit different. Now you're like purples and pinks, chartreuses, stuff like that. So it's really funny to watch. You know, everybody. There's some people that are just coming to fill out their box, like, hey, you know, I don't have any of these colors or these colors, so this is what I need. But a big thing, and it comes down to it, is confidence.
It is. It's a ton of confidence.
So if you're on Saginaw Bay and you have confidence running these lures, run those lures if you're catching them.
We had one guy come in from Saginaw Bay. He was looking for what was the color? NASCAR. He bought 18 NASCARs because he couldn't find them.
And you know what's funny about NASCAR? I wouldn't throw that color on in St. Clair.
Nope.
You know why?
No, I don't know why, but
Catches a ton of fish. Wrong fish.
oh,
If you put a NASCAR out there in Lake St. Clair, for me, my personal experience, if you put a NASCAR bait out there on Lake St. Clair, it's gonna get musky.
if you want a
Same with
50
C6
inch,
frog.
if you want a 50-inch muskie, throw NASCAR. I promise you, I have 2 NASCARs in my basement that have ripped up hooks,
Yeah,
barely any paint left on them, almost snapped in half,
yeah,
and it's just they're musky killers.
yep. And like I just said, seasick frog's another one. Seasick frog is an insane color on Lake Erie. It produces so much. Every time I throw that bait out there, because muskies love frogs for some reason, they just get chowed. And it's like, oh my God. So I get people come in and they'll buy like 15 of them. And they're like, yeah, do you use this color a lot? And it's like, no, because I can't afford to be dealing with that all the time.
I know, like guys from Saginaw Bay and Erie were like, "What do you throw all the time?" And I'm like showing them all the colors I use, and they're like, "Oh,"
They'd never use them.
they're like, "I've never caught a fish on that color." And then they're showing me what I use, and I'm like, "There's no way that thing catches a walleye."
No.
And they're showing me pictures of like 10-pounders with it down their throat. I'm like, dude,
If it works, it works.
I know it's nuts.
What did you think about the show this year as far as like size goes?
Size of
Like more boat dealers,
a lot of
more
boats.
retailers. Like it was just a bigger show in general, it seemed like.
It was a lot to look at. Like if you
Overwhelming.
Like I think if you went in there with like not knowing who was there, just kind of went into it blind, it'd be really hard to not find what you need, but kind of find like the smaller stuff.
To try and find like what you want even.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have I used to go to the show and I would not know like what I wanted. I just go there and look for deals or look for whatever. Because typically you can find some decent deals at the show. And it's very overwhelming. So like if you don't go there with a game plan or you don't go there with like a couple people that you want to see, you know, how many times did people come back by our booth with 4 bags of stuff? And they're like, man, I'd love to buy some bandits, but I spent all my money. Like,
yeah.
It can get nuts. Like there's certain stretches where it's like, you know, 7 or 8 good booths in a row. And it's like, you just get caught up in there spending all your money. But I thought it was a really, really good show. As far as I know they didn't get the amount of people that they wanted with Friday night being the way it was. And then Saturday having that snowstorm. But I thought it was really good. I really did.
It didn't seem like there was a lot of people. Like when it got slow, it was slow. but when it was busy, it seemed like it was busier
And
than last year.
yeah, and I will say this too about being slow. Like part of it felt like we were slow, but do you think that had to do with we had twice as much space?
Yeah, it definitely
Because
wasn't as packed. Like, you could have 20 people in our booth, and you'd still have room to kinda walk around and talk and show people baits, and you still had room to kinda breathe.
that's what I was just gonna say is like there was a point where we had Roy set up on the outside and then John set up on the other side and then the crankbait set up in the middle and then the musky baits towards the register. And there was a time on Friday morning where I just stood back and I was like, damn, like, wish it was a little busier. I want to be busier. It's kind of slow. And as I looked around, I was like, man, Roy's got 5 or 6 guys at his booth. John's got 5 or 6 guys at his thing. There's probably like 8 to 10 people looking at bandits. There's 2 people checking out. So it's like, you got 20 plus people in the booth where like last year, because we were so crammed in, we only had 20 feet instead of 40 feet, that we were so crammed in that it just always seemed busy. Like if you had 3 people in your booth, it was like, oh my God, we're busy.
Yeah. No, this year you had time to actually talk to people, not, like, kinda not push people along, but it was like, "Alright, like, if you're not buying anything, this guy behind you is,
Well,
like, coming in."
yeah, and that's the point too. Like, so we talk to our friends that are in the retail business, and this is where I have a hard time because sometimes when you go to these shows, your customer isn't going to be right then and there.
No.
They might show up to your booth and not buy anything, whether they bought too much stuff before or they don't really want to or whatever the deal is. They might not buy anything. But if you give them the time of day, if you talk, man, if you give them the time of day and you talk to those guys, you might not get the sale that day, but they might be a customer for life. You know what I mean? Like, man, these guys were awesome. And every once in a while, you'd talk to them even though they didn't want to buy anything, and they still would. Finn, stop it. But I definitely think we're gonna go that route next year. Same deal. You're gonna split the booth with Pat. We're gonna run 40 feet long. Because to have that space, and like you said, it's not like we want to push people out. The last thing I want to do is push someone out of my booth. But we also don't need to be standing right in front of said product talking about whatever if you're not looking to buy anything, because you're right. There's people behind that are trying to buy, and if they can't get right in, then they're just going to go down the hall.
Yeah, that was I would say our biggest problem last year.
Last year, they just got kind of sucked away.
Yeah.
And which was nice this year is we got to set it all back in the booth. So we get to draw them in that booth a little bit. But that, I mean, to me, that was the biggest thing. And people are like, oh, you've got more space. So are you going to bring this? Are you going to bring that? We actually brought less this year than we brought last year because we didn't bring any of our jigs and we didn't bring any of our clothing.
Yeah, we definitely didn't bring as much, but we brought just enough. We actually brought too much.
Yeah, I would say we do this. I'm almost like run it back next year the same way.
Yeah.
And do it that way because it gave us the space to talk to you guys and enjoy you guys. So instead of like Louie said, like, hey, you want to buy these baits? No. All right, we'll keep her moving because these guys behind you want them. It's like, oh, hey, you want to talk? Let's go step off to the side. We've got 10 feet over here. We've got 5 feet over here. We've got the aisleway.
You definitely got to talk to people for longer and kind of meet them and see, like, actually where they fish, what they like to fish for, and like you get to talk to people for longer, meet them, and kind of.
And that's what we want.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's how we get customers is they realize we're not just trying to push a sale or we're not just trying to sell you a bait that we have a bunch of in the back because then you're not going to catch any fish. So then if you go out there and don't catch any fish, why are you ever going to listen to us again?
Yeah.
Right? It's the old catch-22. It happens. It's just how it goes. So to be able to talk to you guys and the other thing is when we talk to you guys, we just talked about how much that we learn. We talked about that 2 podcasts ago.
Yeah.
Like how much we learn from our listeners and our viewers and our customers. We get to learn a bunch. We get to learn about what you guys might want to see next year, what you want to see in the store, or what you want to hear about on this podcast. So to be able to just take the time and spend it and talk to everybody, though it can get very tiring, that's exactly what we want. Like that is the goal. So I was glad. Not only was I glad to see, us do better in the sense of sales and talking to people, but more so in the sense like have a better idea moving forward. Maybe get a little more organized.
Yeah, it was
But
it was a cluster, but we weren't expecting Thursday to be the busiest day either. Like we kind of thought we were gonna glide through Tuesday, kind of restock everything, get ready for Friday. Friday would be a little bit. We thought Sunday was gonna be
I
what
thought,
we had to stock up for, but Thursday threw us through a loop.
yeah, I thought Sunday was going to be the day because I thought Thursday was going to be your average Thursday. Thursdays are always good because it's your those are your like primary fishermen, the guys that are they have the time. One, they have the time to get out there on a Thursday, but they can also get their hands on all the products because everybody's typically set up Thursday, so they get their hands on all the products. They're typically there to buy, so there's less like the difference between like Thursday and say Saturday night at 6 o'clock. Saturday night at 6 o'clock, nobody's buying. Everybody's
No.
walking around with $8 beers. A lot of them are drunk, and we're just talking fishing. But when you go like Thursday, we knew it was going to be decent. I didn't think it was going to be as busy as it was. And Sunday, I thought was going to be busy because I thought everybody was going to kind of wait out that snowstorm and then boom, hit you on Sunday. Well, our Detroit Lions are absolutely rolling, so I feel like that affected it a little bit. And Sunday wasn't quite as busy as we thought, but I think it was just because Thursday set like an unreal expectation. Like Thursday was like, holy shit, if we can do this all weekend, which didn't happen, but just to see that, and then yeah, the thing is like you can talk about being more organized. You can be as organized as you want, but when there's a couple thousand people coming into the building at one time, I don't think there really is an answer for that besides a hold on.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah,
Like
it was.
like Thursday, I was like, we'll get to talk to a lot of people, a lot of the guys that fish like almost every day, and it was like, you'd look down the hallways and you would have thought it was a Saturday at
Yeah.
10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. It was nuts.
Absolutely. Thursday it started. Thursday it goes from 1 to 8, and I would say from like 1 until about 6:30 it was busy. Like I finally got to look down at my phone. And I'm like, oh my god, we only have an hour and a half left. Which is nice. Which is nice because when you're there,
go by fast.
yeah, when you're there for 7 hours one day, 9 hours the next day, or 7 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, 8 hours, takes a toll on you.
It does. My feet were killing me.
Oh, you guys were killing me, dude. You and Chase. We gotta get matting in there for next year, like anti-fatigue mats and like foam flooring, because you guys were dying. And I was surprised. I don't know if it was just because so many people were coming in, or like I was just so focused on it, but like I was wearing the boots all weekend and I was fine.
I know. I was talking to people and I was like, dude, I would love to talk to you, but let's move over like 5 feet so I can sit down and keep this conversation going.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, especially when you're walking around, like you gotta walk when we have to go out to the truck. It's like a 1/4 mile walk, dude, to get to the truck and back.
Oh, I know. And
So
then
it's
you're
like
hopping in the truck bed, hopping on the ice.
it's negative degrees out, pouring, just dumping snow. Just dumping snow.
It was
It was good. Hey Finn, you getting in? Look, everybody, here's Finn. Hey buddy. He's getting pissed because he wants some attention. And we're giving you guys all the attention. Alright. Lock you back out.
yeah, we're definitely gonna have
Maybe we should bring Finn to the show.
no, dude.
Oh. Yeah,
You'd love to, but
you wouldn't be able to handle it well.
no. Finn and little kids don't get along very
Do you want
good.
me to scoot over, Finn, so you can get in the cut here? There you go. There you go. There's Finn. Oh, he's back.
His first actual debut.
I know.
Oh, there he goes.
For real, yeah.
Nap
he finally
time.
laid down. Nap time. I know he never comes into the podcast shot, which is hilarious because how many of our customers love coming into the bait store just to see Finn?
That dog gets more treats than any other dog I know.
Oh, he's a fat. I won't say it. He's a fat effer.
Finn lives for treats from the UPS guy.
Yeah, UPS guy gives him treats. Bob gives him treats when he comes in and brings us lead.
Some guys bring in sausage sticks. Finn will get a sausage stick.
I know. They're looking at me too, and they're like, "We're gonna spoil him," and I'm like, "No, you're not. Poor dog's gonna have diabetes." But anyway, no, dude, I think it went literally as good as it possibly could have went. It was really cool. And we didn't even get into a lot of the people that we got to talk to. A lot of the different businesses and a lot of the different companies that we might start carrying them in the store or we might start working with in the future. Hint, hint. But for us, for Louie and I, it's a big weekend to talk to a lot of people. Like people in the industry, people that want to do videos, people that want to jump on the podcast, people that want us to sell their product, people that want to partner up with their product. So it's a really cool time for me and Louie to kind of be able to shape our own future and see what that's going to look like too. And it was really cool to have some of those guys come in the booth, you know, hey, we want to come up to St. Clair and we want to shoot a couple shows. Well, as long as it's walleye jigging the milk runs for Louie.
Yeah.
Louie had a lot of people come up to him and ask him that they want to go salmon fishing. And I think by the end of the weekend, he was a little split on how he felt.
It was, yeah. I thought a lot of it was going to be like walleye. And, dude, a lot of you guys want to salmon fish, which, so do I. So
Yeah.
I can't.
No, and that's the thing is like it's such a new thing within the last 5 years because it's not kings.
No.
So even what the guys that used to salmon fish, it's not the same. It's quite a bit different actually. So to see that was really cool, and we had a couple guys come up that film TV shows and film stuff like that, and they're like, hey, if you ever get on a really good Atlantic bite or a good coho bite, like give us a call. And I'm like, Louie, what do you think, dude? Because here's the thing, we're not the type of people that want to hide what we're doing. We want to tell you guys, and we want to show you guys, but sometimes when you put that stuff on TV and you put that stuff on film, not only will it blow out a spot, but
The problem with the St. Clair River is it's a long fishery, but it fishes small. So when you do get on those bites, it's not like it can get blown up very, very easily.
right, and really you can only fish salmon fishing. You can really only fish half the river because on the Canadian side, the rod limit, you're only allowed one rod per person. And if you didn't know that, you know now. So like even when you go over there to pull bottom bouncers, one rod per person. So for me and Louie to go over there and salmon troll, it wouldn't make any sense to go over there and run 2 rods when we could stay on our side and run 6 or 8 if you get a third person in the boat. You get a third person in the boat in Canada, you get a third rod. So you're really restricted to half the river, and then on top of that, certain fisheries. Now I will say the salmon fishery is a beautiful thing because a lot of those fish are migratory. So a lot of the times that you can catch those fish up in Marysville one day and then you'll catch them down in Algonac the next day. So they are constantly moving, and that's why, we'll have people come in. It's like, well, where's the salmon? I don't know. Every day is different. Literally every day is different. You could have them pinned down, and then the next day they're gone completely.
Yeah,
they move 2 miles.
Like once you figure it out, you can kind of be like, oh, like this wind hit, they're probably going downriver. This wind hit, they're probably going upriver. But I should say they tend to kind of stick to sections of the river. So once you find that section of the river for that day, that's where all your fish are coming from.
Yep.
And it's not like, oh, you might get one here, one there. It's like the 1 mile stretch you find them on, that's where they're
You're
at.
not going to be able to keep your rods in the water.
No.
You're getting 2 or 3 at a time. And then you'll go through a lull. And then the big thing is, too, like with film and TV, you guys know how we feel about it on the podcast, but it's very... if we did it, it would have to be as natural as possible because there are days where we go out and salmon fish, and like Louie said, you might only hit like 1 school of fish. So I don't want you guys to think that we went out in 4 hours and caught 30 fish when, in reality, we had to hit the same stretch. I don't know. We're up in the air on it. I'm sure we're going to be doing something with some of the guys because I know they were really excited, and there's definitely ways that we can do it. but really we want to save it for ourselves and our customers.
Yeah. Yeah,
People, I mean,
and it's such a unique thing. Like it's tough to teach.
it is.
Like unless you're coming out like on a charter and like actually doing it yourself, it's like hard. Like it takes a long time to figure out.
It's hard to explain it to someone like if we were just talking, because you've got to understand the gist of everything. You've got to understand the gist of moving down current and avoiding docks, and a big thing for us is like, what speed do you go?
Oh,
It's impossible to answer, unfortunately, because depending where you're at in the river, you're going to be going a different speed. So really you're not going a certain speed, but you're more so watching your planer boards and how they're reacting, right? Like if you're pulling them too hard, then you can tell, or if you're not going fast enough, then they're almost floating right next to the boat. So there's definitely there's some stuff in there, and this isn't a salmon trolling podcast, so we're not going to get way into the weeds here. But it was cool to be able to meet those people at the show, and have them actually show interest in it. And it's really cool, guys, because finally people are showing interest in the St. Clair River. Like,
yeah. It's
we've had such a beautiful fishery for a long time, and I know there's some people on here that are like, I don't want any more people coming up to fish this, because guys, I promise you there's enough fish. Like, there's enough fish, and economically what it does when these people come into town for the hotels, the Airbnbs, the restaurants, the gas stations, the party stores, like all of it. It is major. Like, people don't, God, it pisses me off, man, because people don't realize how much money is on the water with fishermen and boaters and stuff like that. If you can buy a $120,000 boat and 5 $100 walleye setups and $1,000 in walleye tackle and whatever else, you've got money, right? These people have money. So to be able to let them come into town and to be able to reap the benefits economically, that's what we want. And the St. Clair River has just been thrown to the curb for a long time. Louie, how many major tournaments come fish the St. Clair River?
0.
When's the last time a major tournament fished the St. Clair River?
Actually, I mean not the St. Clair River specifically.
No. Bass fishing is a little different.
Yeah.
Walleye.
None.
And obviously salmon, you're not going to have any just because we don't get the big kings. And yeah, you get the Elite Series that go down to, I mean, it was the closest they've ever been this year at Brandenburg Park.
Elite Series brought a lot of people up here, especially the amount of people that fished Lower Lake Huron.
Yeah.
All the way up to, I think we had 15 guys out of the 105 or however many boat field it was when they came up here.
Yeah.
That fished the St. Clair River.
It's an unbelievable fishery. I will bat for it until the day that I die. Or until the day that this river dies, which hopefully never happens. But there's nowhere that you can find the species list that you can find right here. We almost need to make a Great Lakes Grand Slam, and you could probably catch every single fish right here in the river. Salmon, trout, walleye,
whitefish,
muskie,
burbot,
sturgeon, burbot, panfish. I mean, it's unbelievable. And we can't draw a major walleye tournament, which is insane to me because we don't have the facilities, even though we have about 10 hotels up and down this river, or more. I mean, once you get into Port Huron, more.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And the more that we grow, and the more that we get to talk to people in the business, like we talked to Ali down at the show, and they filmed a show for The Next Bite. So for anyone that's familiar with The Next Bite with Gary Parsons and Keith Cavias and that whole team, they just did a show in the St. Clair River that'll air next year. So I'm sure some people are going to see that. Now, they didn't necessarily go at the best time. I'm not even sure how the fishing was because I didn't even talk to Ali about that. But when I did talk to him, I said, hey, this river has a lot of resources and a lot of potential. So you tell me what you want to do and what you want to target, and typically there's going to be a time of the year where we can line it up.
The thing about the river is you can catch a walleye from December to December. Like there are spots that always have fish. Like
Yeah,
it's not always gonna be insanely good. Like you might have to go out at night or do something, but there's always like a walleye bite to be on. Like the Detroit River, I'm sure there's always a bite. Like I don't fish it a ton,
Mhm.
but it kind of slows down from what I've heard in the summer. Like
it's
it gets so hot, but we always get that like cold water from Huron.
I'm trying to bite my tongue. It's a great fishery. It's an amazing walleye fishery. An amazing walleye fishery. That's it. That's all it is. There's some big bass in there. That's it. Like, I hate to be that guy. That's it. And they see, I don't know, 3 to 4 million people a year in traffic. Imagine what that does for all those bait shops and all those boat launches and all those party stores and all those gas stations and all the hotels in Roseville and all that stuff, dude. It's unbelievable. And it's only a good fishery. When do you ever fish the Detroit River? It's only good from the end of March till the middle of May, and then it picks back up again in the fall, unless you want to smack around silver bass. Like it's crazy to me that it's so like we're so low key. So that's kind of the point of another big thing. Like when we go to the shows, we get to talk to these people, and it's like me and Louie, we get to I don't know, we're not cocky, but we do get to brag a little bit about the resources that we have here. Like,
Yeah,
hey, I know your fishery's good, but do you guys have this? Hey, I know your fishery's good, but can you guys do this? Where else can you whip?
yeah,
You know what I mean? So there's like certain things that you can do here that, as far as like freshwater fishing goes, are bucket list items.
oh yeah.
So I'm excited to continue to grow that. Like I said, meeting the people, talking to the people, explaining to them what we have, because you get a lot of people that are like, I've never fished it before. You know, our whipping rod rack was the conversation starter of the weekend.
Oh
People walk
yeah.
by and they see a 4-foot stubby rod,
Fish hawk rods.
fish hawk rods and pike spearing decoy rods. What else? Shark fishing off the pier. I mean, just some random stuff. And I'm like, you guys realize that this rod right here is responsible for catching is responsible for a method that catches the most walleye in the shortest amount of time I've ever seen.
It's pretty unbelievable.
And big ones. And big ones at night. But hey, that's our job. That's what we're here to do. We're here to spread the love and spread the word. And like I said, I think the show was a really good start.
There's definitely a lot of people that are coming up this spring
Oh yeah.
just from talking to us.
Oh yeah. Yep. There'll be some new bodies and some new boats on the water, so that'll be really good to see.
It was weird to see how many people don't realize how fast the current is up here either.
Yeah.
Like a lot of guys they use 1 ounce in the Detroit River were like, what do you guys use up there? Like ounce and a half? I'm like, nope.
I don't even own an ounce and a half jig.
No. I'm like, dude, you could probably use a 5/8 and 40 feet of water still.
Yeah. I mean, we use 3/4 religiously. Unless I have somebody that like cannot feel the bottom, I'll put a 1 ounce on. But that's all part of the teaching and having them, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's almost easier in some spots to feel the bottom in the St. Clair River because it's going so fast. So if
Yeah.
you do hit bottom, it's tick, 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 tick immediately.
They're nibbling. They're
So
nibbling. I can feel them nibbling down
Yep.
there. The fish are nibbling.
So it's like immediately if you start getting those ticks, it's like, all right, pull some line in.
Yep.
Or if your line's like straight down and you're not feeling anything, it's like, all right, need more line out.
Yep. I feel that. You're 100% right. That's why I know a lot of guys like using the bait casters. Click, click. Because you can hear it. Like Anthony was telling me, he's like, I use the bait casters because I can tell in between clicks. It makes a click when you push it down and when you let it go. So if it goes like click, click, then you only let out a little bit of line. But if you hear click, click, too much line. Got to reel in.
Live scope has made a huge difference.
100%.
If I'm only seeing, if I got 4 guys in the back and I'm only seeing 3 jigs go up, I'm like, all right, dude. Well,
Yeah.
you're either hooked up or you're fishing in the county over.
Yeah, and live scope's funny like that too, because like I try to explain to a lot of people, like I don't use live scope how it's traditionally used. Mostly like a lot of the times I'm using live scope to break down water or help clients and do that sort of stuff. And there was like multiple times this year where I'm watching a client jigging and I watch a fish come up and then I watch the fish hit their bait and I turn and look over and their rod tip will go from this to this. And I'm like, dude, I think you got a fish on. And they'll go to lift up and there's like a little bit of tension and I'm just like, reel. Because they're not going to set the hook.
No.
And we actually landed a few fish like that this year and they're like, oh my God, how did you see that? And it's like, live scope. Like I'm watching all your guys' jigs right now. Like old buddy in the back is 6 feet off the bottom.
I know. Instead of kind of like always turning and breaking your neck looking at rods, it's almost like crawler harness fishing now.
Yeah.
Like you can look and be like, all right, this guy's about to get bit. And then
Yeah.
you look at him and you're like, all right, start reeling.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. It's that part of it's really cool.
It helps a lot.
It looks like we're running out of time, dude. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on from the show that I missed?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. It feels great to be back. Thank you guys again for coming to the booth in Novi, talking to us, letting us know that you're listeners, that you're followers, that you're following along. Because to be honest with you, if we didn't have people listening and following, we probably wouldn't be doing this anymore. But the fact that people are listening and the fact that it is growing, you guys are doing an awesome job liking, sharing, and subscribing. Because I can see that it's growing, and the more that it grows, the more money that we can put into this thing and hopefully make it something great for you guys. Because that's really the whole goal. So, Louie, why don't you give them the spiel?
Like, share, and subscribe.
That's all you got to do, guys. It's still free. I checked yesterday. It's still free to like, share, and subscribe. Sharing is a big one for us. Just letting your friends know, hey, you have, if you want to watch some fishing content, here it is, or whatever the deal is. It would be awesome. It means the world to us. Guys, thank you again, and we will see you all next week on the Hook One Pod.